Hey everybody, what is up? This is Devin, LaVore, and
Michelle LaVore
coming at ya. Just try to do it a little funnier, I guess. I don't know, I failed. But, well, hey, welcome to the channel. God bless you. Man, I feel like I think we did two videos last week, but we released them at the beginning of the week.
Mm-hmm.
But then we come to this day and we do another video. It feels like we haven't done the video in like 3 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that lets you know there's a lot going on. But we just hope that you guys are going to be blessed by what you hear. If this is your first time to the channel or your 101st time to the channel, welcome. And yeah, we think it's going to really bless you. As the title says, the titles are always prophesying blessing, right? Anyway. And so also we want to give a huge thank you to those who just continue to give to us and continue to bless our lives and recognize that what we're doing is the Lord's work in our life, and you just give to us and help us just go. And it's really a blessing. Mm-hmm. Like truly a blessing. And of course there is the PayPal link below if you would choose to want to give or whatever. That's available and we appreciate it. And praise the Lord. So, restoration play, Act 1, Scene 46.
Yes.
Man, that's a lot of scenes. Okay, That's a lot of scenes, brother. But but God knows what He's doing. He's always up to something good and something awesome. And I would say to kind of sum up. So we're gonna sum up, then we're gonna tell, and then we're gonna sum up. Okay, I'd say the sum up of this week is like kind of like the end. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, because we've kind of come to the end of because we had our pregnancy process, and then we came here and we're in the labor and delivery process, and then the labor process came to an end. And there's just been all these signs lately, actually in the past couple weeks, of ending things, just promotional things, signs of like, we're really crossing into something.
Well, it's interesting because it's like an ending of one thing but the beginning of another. And so some of the signs, it's really the signs of the beginning of something new, but then because of that you also, it's like saying, hey, it's time to end, where and
kind of
so
like
it's
springtime
overlapping.
You start seeing green, you start seeing flowers bud or something,
so you know that it's the end of winter, but it's also the beginning of spring.
Yeah.
And so I definitely agree, like this week has been kind of that mix of both of those things, where the word's kind of been like, hey, you're starting to see spring, but you're also seeing the ending of winter. Yeah. And how those two have kind of come together this week.
Yeah.
For us. Yeah,
and it's like we've really been on the edge of expectation, particularly this particular scene 46. Because we a lot of times you see prophetic numbers and God speaking and all that stuff, and God is, he throws some mystery in there, of course, but it's like, you're kind of, we had a high level of expectation for this week that we just finished, regarding like what we thought maybe the Lord was going to do, because the truth of the matter is you're always hoping for God to be doing that end thing. And when He's speaking, it's like, ooh, you're speaking about that end thing, aren't you? Yes. And then the week goes by and you're going, no. But because nothing, but what you have to do is when the Lord's speaking, just keep seeking Him, keep listening, keep allowing what He's saying to unfold and develop, see how it develops. And the time frame is just like, it's almost inevitable to deal with. You deal with that time frame stuff and what you thought was going to be happening at a certain time by a certain... we've gone through that, 1 or 200 times? You know what I'm saying?
Put a million on the end of that.
1 or 200 million? That's about right. That's about how many times we thought the Lord was going to be moving at this particular time to do this specific thing. And it's like... nothing happened. There's a tumbleweed going through the spirit. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh man, that's disappointing. It's like, but I prophesied about the tumbleweed. It's a sign of something. Don't you understand? Because God is always speaking and He is always moving. And throughout this last 3-4 years, we really learned about like God's time and his time frame, and that it's his.
Yeah.
But his word is his, and he shares his heart, and he shares his word, and things come to pass. And this week has definitely been, man, just so much about just things coming to an end, and speaking about the end. And so there's labor and delivery that we're in. Labor and delivery, right? Well, it's two things, labor and delivery. Well, we felt like the labor part came to an end, and then the Lord began speaking to us about delivery, expecting delivery, and we're getting all this prophetic everything about, signs, wonders, numbers, prophetic words, all that stuff about delivery, and expecting delivery, and keep your expectation up, get yourself positioned to, and that's really what the Lord was doing. He's kind of taken this week to really prepare our hearts to receive the delivery. Not that the delivery is going to happen this week, because this week we're talking about is the one we're recording. It's already passed. Apparently it didn't happen. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter, because the Lord's just like, no, I want you to prepare your heart. I want you to keep yourself ready to don't be discouraged and disappointed by what you see, but listen to me and expect me and what I'm saying to happen.
Yeah. So, the Lord's really been talking a lot about delivery. And, just during this last week, I was really kind of thinking about, like, the actual, like, delivering a baby. And just how, and actually it was really a lot last night. Really for this week, I felt like the beginning of the week, it was very much the Lord kind of just, like, being like, hey, you're getting ready to go into something new. And then the second half of the week has been actually really difficult. But at the very end of it, which is actually why we're doing the video today, as opposed to yesterday, because the Lord wasn't finished yet with what he was doing. But at the end of the night, like, God just kind of opened things up and brought revelation, and it was just like, that's what's been going on, and it just brought such clarity. And I think for me personally, again, there's this fresh reminder of, like, sometimes you can be going through things and you just don't understand what's going on. And, it can be really taxing on just your faith and all of that. But if you continue to just stand firm, and sometimes that's just continuing to go through whatever it is that you're going through, at some point the Lord will then, he does reveal what was going on. And so that's kind of where this delivery part was coming into place, because like Devin said, there was just, God was really highlighting for us basically the 25th. There's a lot that went into it from this, just like there was just multiple angles that the Lord came at on this specific day. And so we were just like, what is going on?
What's the 25th? And it's a time frame. No!
Yeah, what's going on?
Get behind me! You know what I'm saying? Like, no.
And it's like, and so of course there's this time frame thing, and I was trying to be careful to not have expectations, but they just get there. And so on the 25th, it was just like, man, things are not going the way that I thought they would. It was actually quite the opposite. It became this day where there was it was a battle. And we were really even just getting attacked by the enemy. And it was just like, what is going on? Like, why? This is not at all, like, Lord, I thought this would have been a glorious day. Well, it really, he tied it into, it was a glorious day in the sense that, we were reading, and part of the reason this day was highlighted was it had to do with Esther. And in the book of Esther, it talks about the 13th, 14th, and 15th of Adar, which is in the Hebrew calendar, it's happening during this time. And those were actually the 13th, 14th, and 15th, like the Thursday,
6th and 7th.
Yeah, we're part of that. And so on the 13th, which would have been the 13th of Adar, that was when God gave the Jews the ability to fight against their enemy. And so God really showed us that. He's like, today expect something. It's like there is a fight against the enemy that's happening right now.
And the enemy is going to be attacking you, so
So
I'm going to be giving you the victory.
Exactly.
That's why I've been showing you all the triple fours. Because I'm going to command victories on your behalf. But a victory is for something to overcome, Then you get a victory.
Yeah. And so we're going through this time, and honestly it really kind of took us by surprise. We weren't really thinking about it, and a lot of times I feel like the Lord allows you to go through something and then he brings clarity,
like half blind.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna take you through this,
just take my hand, I'm leading you,
just trust me.
But, yeah.
And you're going, what in the world is going on? Like, this is not good. This can't be. Lord, are you sure we're supposed to go this way? Because this is not looking good. And then as you're coming out, then he's like, oh, did you recognize this? Did you see this? That's what I was taking you through. And you go,
about the night of the 25th, huh?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you were doing.
That's what's going on.
But we really actually had major battling on the 13th, or which would have been the 25th, so on Thursday. But then it kind of continued on into the morning of the 14th. And actually, in the book of Esther, you can read where it says that for those that were in the capital, they had to fight both the 13th and the 14th. And then the 15th, they declared it a day of celebration. And so it was just like, so we were really battling against the enemy both the 13th and most of the day on the 14th. And then we started going into...
Well,
go ahead.
Was the 25th and the 26th.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Girl's tired.
The month of Adar. I'm following that calendar.
If you're going Adar or Adar or however you
say it.
Pronounce it, then it was the 13th and 14th.
Yes. So
just wanted to
Thursday
clarification.
And Friday. Yes. So Thursday and Friday, we were going through all of that. But the whole time, the Lord is still speaking. He's speaking about birth. He's speaking about just redeeming the years. Like this week, seriously, the theme songs. We've had two theme songs this whole week. It's been I Thank God, and that's with Maverick.
tribal music, Maverick City music, something or other.
And that came out, and literally it's just been like, yes, like we thank God for, that he saved us, and it's a really awesome song. And then also it's Jubilee Worship that came out with Redeeming the Years. And like those two songs, God has just had us listening to them so much this week.
We listened to both of them this morning.
Yes. And it's kind of just been this this heartbeat from the Lord, like, hey, just continue to be thankful, continue to just know, like, I am redeeming the years. It might not look like it, but I am redeeming the years. And so, but then we started going into, for me personally, there was just so much, like, I wasn't sure if it was the enemy, if it, like what was going on, but there was just this sense of just deep sorrow and kind of like this grief, and the intensity of it was just like what was coming against me was so just strong, but it was almost like I couldn't even really express it. Like I didn't even understand exactly what was going on or why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. And it was just like, but I couldn't even really share it.
But it was just on a whole other level than what you might normally deal with, right?
Yeah. So it was just this whole different level of just kind of this grief and like pain and of heart pain, it wasn't a physical
and usually
thing.
You can talk about it.
Yeah, usually I can just talk about it, we work through it or whatever. But even like Saturday night especially, there was just this, I don't know, it just ended up like crying myself to sleep because it was just so intense. And
I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
I know, and I'm like, I don't even know fully what's going on, because even what was being brought out.
Just hold my hand.
Yeah, exactly. And so then coming into Sunday, it was so interesting because for me, it was like for the first half of the morning, it was just, there was just these waves of just like, I just wanted to cry and just like, my heart would get triggered by all sorts of things, and I'm like, Lord, what is going on? I don't even understand.
Or sometimes by nothing.
Or sometimes by nothing. And I was continuing to just like, I'm like, well, I'm just going to journal. I didn't feel like it. You're in that I was in that place where it was just like, Lord, I don't even know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I feel alone. I feel just like all of these things. And so as I was journaling, and then I was typing out on the computer, just the journal, and I got to this point where I was typing about something that the Lord had given us a few days before, and it was talking about the birth. And like I was typing it out, and literally I finished typing it, and it's all about just the birth of the promises and things like that. And it was like the feeling just stopped. And it was just like, it was like an instantaneous thing.
Kind
it
of
was like a
physical
switch.
word of knowledge.
Yeah.
God's like, okay, I'm turning it off right here. I want you to see something. Mm-hmm. What you've been feeling and all that. I'm not going to steal your thunder too much.
And so it literally just, it's like it just, like a switch was flipped. And I was just like, whoa, this is, okay, what's going on? Because it was like, wow, this has been so intense. Just all of these waves and all of that. And, but I was just like, okay, it was kind of, a lot of times for me, I'm just taking things in and I'm processing, but it's like it's not able to really come out yet. And so then last night, on Sunday night, we were playing 5 Crowns, and I was just able to...
I love that game, by the way.
It's a really fun game.
just discovered it this year.
Yeah.
Right? 49 years old, I just discovered this game, and it's like #1 game for like the last 11 years or something, card game or whatever. I'm like, this game's amazing.
Yeah.
I lose 99% of the time, but it's still fun. Continue.
But I just started really sharing, and God just started really opening things up, because he reminded me of, like, in physical labor, especially when you're in the delivery part of your labor. It's like you get to the point where there's the pushing part, and it's like you're gonna have these intense moment of pain, but then it subsides. And this is I was especially thinking of our firstborn, that labor that I had there, and so it was like there was like the contractions. It's really, really intense, and it felt like waves. Once you got to that point, because that's kind of like the pushing point. And but then it could just end, and you're just like totally relaxed. And I really felt like God, because there was that moment that it stopped during the afternoon, but then later on that night I was again feeling some of this like intensity, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And so then once the Lord really revealed, he was just like, this is kind of what you've been going through. I felt like the Lord just like, spiritually, I've given you this experience of like birthing, only it's birthing in the spirit. This sense of like, here's all these emotions, here's all this is what's God is bringing out. And so it was very much similar to physical birth in the sense of the intensity of it. And when you're in labor, you're just experiencing the intensity of the pain. It's almost like you can't talk through it.
So what are you feeling? What are you sensing
right
now?
Exactly. That's not going to happen.
What's going on as a contraction's happening?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of painful, yeah, but you're not going to get that.
Yeah.
You're not going to get no conversation.
No. And so
you're kind of in a trance.
Yeah, you're like, very focused on.
That's what you told me. You were like,
yeah.
I heard you. I was hearing everything that everyone was saying, but it's just I can't talk. There's something where I'm consumed with what's going on, and I'm super focused, and it's just like I'm answering you even in my head, but it's just not coming out my mouth.
Yeah, it's like
right?
Basically, it was just like I can't do that.
I'm like,
wow, just hold my hand.
That's amazing.
Let's go, and so it was very much like that. This, especially, over just this Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
It was different than, you can be attacked by the enemy and that can produce a lot of things, but I knew it was different, even though there were parts of it, it's like, man, this feels similar, but at the same time, it wasn't.
Well, it's interesting because we had the Thursday and the Friday. That was clearly like that capital of Shushan, fighting off the enemies, the enemy of our soul, we're just fighting off. So I'm like expecting like celebration on the next day, because that's what they had in Purim. But the next day was celebration, and then we come to the next day and it's like it's a whole different level of just weird and like not celebration. It's like, what? Come on, Lord. Some of these prophetic things need to connect in the right way, so we can get some stuff and we can do, It's like, why do we always get to the cool part and it's like, oh, we're going to divert.
Yeah.
It's like, no, come on. And the Lord's like, no, that's not what's happening. There is a celebration, because, can I read this? Because it's got some notes, I didn't want to interrupt. Anyway. But I was thinking about it. Labor ends, right? And delivery begins. Well, what does delivery begin with? Pushing. It begins with the pushing. It's like, oh, it's time to push. That means when you're at the push point, that means something's getting ready to come out that's a life. That's something you can hold in your hands. That long-awaited promise, that long-awaited moment, that long-awaited birth of the thing that you've been longing for and praying for and crying for, Hannah. And just seeking, asking, knocking. Luke 18, 1 through 18. You know what I'm saying? Just like the widow and the unjust judge. You're not a widow, you're a child. You're not going to the unjust judge, you're going to the just God who's faithful and true.
Yeah.
That moment where you're waiting for that thing to come, it's like the Lord had to just correct me on that and just say, hey, there is a celebration going on. There's a pushing going on. When we've sensed it in our kids, and particularly in our two oldest, God just like, come on. I mean, there's just been a sense of a pushing going on, and I'm just like, whoa.
And pushing to just birth and like bring forth even in ourselves what God has been working on and just been filling our hearts with, and so it's just like, hey, he's continuing to do that. So
I just think that that's cool too. The labor part ends and this whole pushing, delivery, transitional process begins. It's like, wow, it's still as God even develops these things through these different scenes of the restoration play, it doesn't turn out the way we think, but it is happening like he said. It's like, whoa, okay, this is cool. So just more, I don't know, it puts me in a place of like more maturity, I feel, because it's like, wow, it just makes me want to rest in the Lord more. It makes me want to trust in the Lord more, because he really is, I'm expecting some woohoo, because I remember that one night, it was the 25th, at that night, God was just giving us some revelation of why our day's been so the way it is, and it's like, there's been an attack from the enemy, and that's like Purim, and I had no idea that it literally was that day. Am I right? I'm telling the truth. I had no clue. And I remember us talking about it a couple weeks ago, but it left me. I was like, whoa. And because I was thinking, I was like, man, I feel like the Lord's saying tonight is like the beginning. It's like the inauguration of some sort of festival. Not a celebration, like a festival, the kind that like lasts like 7 days or something like that. Or something, some sort of festival type, very special time. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Like, all right, because we've gotten that in the spirit a lot. I wasn't relating it to an actual festival happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. So I was expecting that. I was like, well, great, festival, awesome. I was expecting that the next day. And then the next day, we had still enemy attack. And it was like, oh, that's, the capital. When you're in the capital of Shushan, they had to battle 2 days. I was like, okay, that's fine. Well, can we have festival the next day, please? Can we have it? Are we going to have a celebration the next day? But then it ends up being what it is, the pushing and all that. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that. If the pushing results in the baby being born, I'll take it. You can keep the festival, put it on pause. I'll see you in a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that was actually something the Lord was speaking, was expect birth. And so it's like when,
this past week.
This past week or so.
46.
Is like expect birth, expect the birthing of the promises, expect the delivery.
Yeah.
And so part of that has been, wow, Lord, you've really taken us through just this pushing part of it, and it's like the intensity of it. And so it's like, okay, well, we're still in it. We're still in that delivery time. You know, the Lord hasn't said, well, it's this long or that long. And we basically have been in this delivery time for just a little over a week.
And we were in the labor time for like 4 months.
Yeah.
We're in the pregnancy process time for like, but can I say something about that? The push. Like I remember the push, like when we think about the push, the final push, that is what it is. It's representation of something final happening. And, you get to the 5th round of a championship fight. That's the final push, you know. You get to the end of a race, you get to give it the final push. They literally call it the push, right? And so when we did during our pregnancy process, we did like the final push, and we were doing one video literally every day for 21 days. It was awesome. And it wasn't something we can make. I was like, well, either this is going to work or it's not. We can't be making up videos. You know what I mean? And it was. And the Lord was, and it was like a week and a half or so after that. Like the final push was over. I'm sure by then we were expecting something the next day too. And we were like, what's going on? What's special? But then we ended up moving here like a week and a half later or 2 weeks later or something like that. And it was just like, that was the final push. Okay, now we're going to transition to the labor and delivery room. That's when the Lord gave me that word. It's time.
Yeah.
Like, time to go deliver. Well, we're going to go labor first.
Yeah.
Then we'll deliver. It's like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually something, the Lord really has been highlighting the delivery, and even just during, I think it was Saturday, pretty sure, we were seeing 157, and for us that's always Luke 157, which talks about it was time for Elizabeth to be delivered. And that really highlighted to me because, actually we've been getting that since September. Because the Lord was really he's like highlighting, this is what I'm delivering right now. It's like the spirit of John the Baptist. He was born first, and then Jesus came later. And just that sense that what's being birthed right now is going to go before you to prepare the way for the next thing that the Lord has. And so it's like that's been with us since September. And but then when I read it again, I was just on this last week. It was like the word delivered. It's time for her to be delivered. Really stood out, and I was like, yes, because we're actually in that time now.
Yeah.
And so it's like the Lord's like, hey, expect this. Expect that I am gonna deliver. That I'm gonna bring forth the very thing that's going to set you up. For what's coming next. And that's actually been something that the Lord was showing us. I don't think we got to talk about this, but last week, or I guess it was the week before, so scene 45 that week, the Lord was really, he was sharing with us about like the acts, because we're in Act 1 of the play, and that he was saying like there are actually 3 acts to this play, how
he usually reveals time frames at the end of
or
time.
Near the end, or when it's not gonna like he knows
that
your heart can handle it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
it's like, boy, if you would have told us at the beginning, that's why I didn't tell you.
Yeah. But just how like Act 1 sets things up is like a setup, and so. And it was just like, okay. And he said, like, Act 1 is mine. If you think about it, when the Israelites went into the promised land, it was like the Lord, he's like, that first Jericho was his. And it's not that he didn't act in the others, but what he did with Jericho, where he's like, I'm taking the walls down. This city, all of it's coming down. And then the people did not collect any of the spoils for themselves. It was all, like, that city was the Lord's. And
that's what it was in Shushan, too.
Yeah, they
said they didn't put their hands on the spoil, because like, we're not trying to take your stuff.
No.
We just want you to stop messing with us.
Yeah, we just don't want
Leave us alone.
Yeah, if you're an enemy of us, Lord, like, no, I'm saving my people.
You want to be God's enemy? You better leave us alone. You know what I'm saying?
And, but then you see that after that, that was like the setup. That was, I think, just that's the initial like, whoa, God's opened the door for us to come into our land of promise.
Yeah.
And so, and
with
of course
miraculous,
the Lord,
powerful display.
Exactly.
Brought their faith to a whole nother level. Like, whoa, we can take this land.
Yeah.
The whole nation was like, oh, this is going to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then from there, that was kind of like that setup to, okay, now this is what we're going to do. We are taking this land. We are going forward. And they continued to having to follow the Lord, because God said, I will go before you. But they needed to know his instructions for every place that they went to battle up against. Yeah. And so it's kind of similar in our lives, I think, with what God is doing in this restoration play. And is just like, he's like, I'm going to set things up so that you can see, like, it will bring you into this next time, this next act, you know, very much like an actual play, you know. You have the setup, and then you got like the main middle part, and then you got like the ending part.
Well, and each scene needs to end with a big scene, a big cliffhanger, a big like, whoa, when is it? Oh, we gotta wait till Friday till the next episode. You know what I mean? You don't want to end with like oh, cool, that was nice. Okay, well, what's for dinner?
Yeah.
That's not the feeling you want to leave your readers with. You know what I mean? So,
you know, so there is just like, so the Lord was just showing us that.
How about the birth of a promise at the end of Act 1? That's a good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And he's like, ooh, what's going to happen now? Stay tuned.
Yeah. And so the Lord is just really just speaking about like that expectation that he is going to be the one that's like, he shows up, and he's going to be, you know, he said the first act is his, meaning it belongs to him. And so then going forth, it's like, all right, you still go forth, but you're being led by the Spirit. You're going forth, following after whatever the directions of the Lord are. And so that was actually from like a week and a half ago or so, maybe 2 weeks ago. That
filling
the Lord
you
was,
in from previous things.
Yeah, so, you know, if you're anything like me and my brain, you start to try and like, ooh, well, what does that mean? And how could this go together? And, you know, because I think in general, you know,
that must mean
that
this.
must mean,
Yay!
Or, you know, or
whoa.
Or it's the, whoa, okay, Lord, what does that mean?
Yeah! It's like, ooh, what does that mean?
Does that mean we have to wait, you know?
Oh, no.
Now, are these acts all a year long? Are they shorter? Are they long? What's going, you know, and all of that stuff. But I think really the heart of God is like, he's saying, just expect that there is a fullness and a completion to what he's doing. And he's saying like this restoration play, this first act really has been this huge setup for what he's going to continue to do and how he's going to continue to move in our life.
Yeah. Well, in Joel 2:25, it talks about that redeeming the years, you know? And I don't think that he's going to do that in just a couple years. You know what I mean? It'll be just, I mean, I think the restoration play really will go on for a couple years. You know, I think each act will be a year. But, you know, I mean, you know, stick with us and you'll find out whether I'm right or not. You know, I'm not saying thus saith the Lord with the golden mallet. You know what I'm saying? Or the golden gavel.
Yes.
I'm just saying that's what I feel like the Lord shared with me. But it could not be right, you know. But we'll see. It's a time frame thing, so I'm just holding it like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that thing wants to fly off, okay, it was fun holding you for a while. You know what I'm saying?
But just the idea, though, I really think even just, you know, with the heart of God is like there is a fullness to the restoration. Yeah. It doesn't just end when a promise is birthed by the Lord. It's like there is more to. That's actually just the beginning of more restoration that God is going to be doing in our hearts and our lives.
The end of the distress and the beginning of the bless. Thank you. So you can experience the flavor of favor. You know what I'm saying? You want me to throw out some more?
Sure. Why don't you do the what is the season? What is that? Succulent season.
What's that one?
That's from the puzzle.
What about it?
I don't know. It just has 2 S's.
I don't know.
I just thought it went with the flavor and the favor.
Oh, I don't know. There's some other ones in there, but I forget which ones they are. Whatever. I don't remember.
So, yeah, I mean, I just think personally with just like, God showing like there's more than just one act. It's like, okay, that makes sense. This is a play, so there's got to be more than just one act. But also to just not, like, I think, like you're saying, you just hold it here and say, like, oh, here, now you can actually see my hands. But just, like, hold it out and just, like, allow the Lord to just bring about all that he wants to do. Because it's really his story that he's writing. And that's actually something else that's come up a lot this week about the Lord rewriting our story.
Trailer for next video. Trailer for next video.
But just allowing him to write the story, allow him to rewrite, allow him to bring the restoration, because that's really what the rewriting is about. It's about restoring what was lost, changing the outcomes of things. And that's really what happened with the story of Esther, is how the Lord, he rewrote the law so that the Jews could have victories over their enemy. And God is going to rewrite the story of our life so that we have victory over the enemy, so that you have victory in places in your hearts that you haven't had freedom in. And that's really what the heart of the Father is. He's saying, like, I really want my people to live. I want my people to thrive. I want my people to have lives where their stories are stories of great victory, stories of just like being close to his heart, but having just the freedom and the joy and the peace, and no matter what's going on around them in their circumstances. And if you allow the Lord to rewrite, repen how you think and process things, it's like your life will be different. And there will be a whole new story. And God's talking about, I'm going to restore those years that were lost. Just like the woman who through the word of the prophet, she left for 7 years during a drought. But when she returned, she was given all that she would have received during that time of drought. And God's like, there are many of us who have been in a time and a season of drought.
Got her land back.
Yeah, she got her land back, everything. And it's like, there have been so many of God's people where it's like you've been living in the time of drought, in that season, and God's saying, I am restoring all those years that you should have received so much, because...
And then if she received it all at once.
Yeah, as if it was not even a time of drought.
Yeah.
And like God he brings his people through seasons of drought, through seasons of wilderness
and testing.
And testing. But God's like, not only are you going to receive from all of the years of the wilderness and the testing and all of that refinement that has taken place, but on top of that, I'm actually going to restore to you what would have been yours had those never even been times of drought. And so you come out with a richness that only God could give you. And so it's like, that's what the Lord is speaking about. He is speaking about redeeming the years, plural, like Joel 2:25, which was one of the scriptures God was using as he was highlighting for us 2:25. And he was like speaking about redeeming the years. And so when we saw that song this week of redeeming the years, it was like, wow, my God, you are speaking this. This is what you are saying. And God is talking about, he's not talking about just a few years. I think for many people, he's talking about, I'm rewriting your story, the story of your life. Like, I'm talking about a lifetime of redeeming.
Yeah.
And just like what you should have had. This, the things that maybe you just didn't have growing up, that's not your fault. It's just you didn't have it.
Yeah.
And God's like, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to start filling in gaps. I'm going to start in your heart, that whatever you need is like, I'm going to come in and be that supply of what you've needed. And I'm going to rewrite these coming years, and it's going to look completely different. You're not even going to recognize before. It's like the before and after. You know, if you've ever...
what you're saying is like you won't earnestly remember.
Exactly.
You won't.
It's like, you
it
know...
Won't be, you'll remember it, but the memory won't be pricking your heart
exactly.
with pain and shame.
Yeah, and if anything, you're going to be rejoicing over what the Lord has done. You're going to be marveling at his work. And it's like, whoa, how did you take this and turn it into this new thing? You know, if you've ever seen any sort of, you know, renovation show where it's like they can go in and these homes are...
You watch those?
Just a few of them.
A couple here and there.
But you go in and you see these homes, and so many of them, they're just falling apart. But then if you just go to the end, you're looking at it going, is this really the same house? Yeah, like, you're amazed because, like, you know, especially if they've changed walls and rooms.
You literally cannot earnestly remember what it looked like.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
That's why a lot of times at the end of those shows, they always give you the before and the after right side by side so you can remember.
Yeah, like what you come through.
But the Lord, he really is. He's like, he is restoring lives right now. He is restoring past histories. He's restoring just the time in the wilderness. And like, he's like, expect the birth of the promise. Expect me to move on your behalf and to just continue to walk with him, and you're going to see his glory. You're going to just be amazed by what he's done. Yeah. And actually it was probably earlier in the week, but or about a week ago, we were it was during our God time, and there was just this moment where I just hit with just this idea of like being in heaven with the Lord and just talking with him about all of the amazing things he did in your life. And it was like equated to, we were telling the kids, I'm like, it's kind of like when, you know, like we'll share and we talk about, just between the two of us, we'll still talk about like, oh, remember our first date, remember this, remember that, and we'll
remember that brownie.
And it was just like, wow, that was, you know, we just reminisce, and we can literally talk about that like
for a long time,
1,000,000 times over, and we never get tired of it. And it was just like, that's what it's going to be like with the Lord. It's like, you're in heaven, you're with the Lord. And I just had this sense of just this like great just joy in being able to come, like, go back and forth, just sharing like, Lord, do you remember when you came in and you renovated that kitchen and we had to work on it together?
What renovation?
No, but just that testimony of like,
tell me about it. What are you saying?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you know, you did this and you did that, and it was amazing. It was awesome. But I just felt like the heart of joy in the sense that you will never tire of celebrating that joy, that relationship with the Lord that was built in those moments. Yeah. And the Lord will never tire of those moments either. Yeah. Well, I remember last year, there was this time where the Lord was there was just this sense of him being finished, like this time being finished, but there was like almost like a sadness for him in it as he was moving on. Yeah. But it wasn't like,
that was when we were in the other hotel. Yeah.
But it was this sense though, because I remember that. He was really just, even though it was a painful and difficult time, it was this like, there was this deep sense of joy in just for him getting to do the work that had been done. Yeah. You know, but then it was the sadness that you might have when, you know, like as a parent and your youngest is like no longer baby anymore, and they're too big to pick up anymore. Yeah, and it's like there's just this like, oh, I'm gonna miss that time. I'm gonna miss just that.
You're gonna get that back.
that especially when they're like itty bitty babies, they're just something so precious, and it's like you don't get that back, but at the same time you are excited for what they're going into and how they're growing and developing. And so you
maybe that's just what you feel when your kids leave the home and they
go.
Just on a way deeper level that we obviously know nothing about, but just that sense of like, wow, it's over, it's done.
Yeah.
They're gone. Mm-hmm.
And you've entered into a whole different stage of life. And I just felt like that at that time, that's kind of the sense that the Lord was just kind of going through. But I think just in all of that, I think there are going to just be moments when we really are, we'll have them here on earth, but like when we're actually with the Lord in heaven, where it will be like this, where it's like, you remember that time? Oh man, I was having a rough time, but you were just right there, and you were coming in, and you were doing all of this work in my heart. And there's just, I don't know, just that sense of like, you wouldn't change it. You're just, there's this celebration to what God has done. And
forever.
Yeah. For all of eternity.
Unending celebration.
Yes.
Oh,
which is going to be
awesome. Kind of makes me want to go now.
but it's like, so that's, I don't know, I just think that the Lord is just going to continue. There's going to be continual moments where as he continues to restore, because when you're doing restoration, especially like on a car or on a house or anything like that, you start in a certain place, but it's always improving. It's always going to keep getting better and better and better and better and better, because as you restore, you're bringing things to life. You're bringing things, you're beautifying, all of those things. And that's really what the Lord is doing. He's like, okay, I'm going to continue to move in big ways and in small ways. Like, you're going to continue to see change. You're going to continue to see things develop and grow, and it's just going to bring more and more joy. And I think his heart is that we see his heart. He wants us to see him and everything that he's doing, so we can have those testimonies and have those moments where it's just like, I'm not going to forget this. Like, this is something that I will be testifying to and talking about, not only while I'm here on earth, but even in heaven, to just how you've moved in my life. And
I like the part where you're talking, but you'll be talking to him.
I know.
Of course, you'll be talking to other people too. It's going to be so awesome. But
it will be a glorious day to see the Lord face to face.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
No, that was supposed to be our closing moment.
I know.
Girl prophesied for 15 minutes.
But yeah, so that's really all that we have to share with you guys today. And we just pray that you are blessed by what God is doing. Just know that he is moving. And even if you are in a place where it is really dark and it's really just, you're like, I don't even know what's going on, just continue to just allow the Lord to move and be praying. You can be praying for clarity, but even if you can't pray, just know that God will bring clarity, and he will be there. He's right there with you, and be looking, continue to be looking for him in every situation, just trusting, like, you are moving. We are still going forward.
The pushing and the contracting. Sometimes
pushing
you can't even know what to say or pray.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And just know that he's right there. He is.
Just hold the hand of Jesus.
Yeah, and he is in the process of delivering. So just let yourself go through the process with the Lord, and he's going to bring revelation. And he is moving. He is in the process of delivering promises. So do not lose hope. Or
you might think it's dark, but the Lord's like, it is dark when you're in the birth canal. Mm-hmm. It's super dark in there.
Yep.
And it's tight. Man, it's really tight right now. That's right, because you're in the birth canal.
Yeah.
Things about to happen.
Yeah.
So
it's going to come out.
I was studying that word. You know what that word, adventure? We've got the word venture, and then we studied the word adventure. You know, it originally comes from the Latin word that means to arrive.
Really?
Yeah, it means to arrive. And then I forget what the next one means, but it's just like, it's funny how the word adventure started with a Latin word that means to arrive, and then it developed into, something about to happen.
Yeah.
That was the next thing, and then it came into an adventure. You're getting ready to go somewhere or do something, but it came from a Latin word that means arriving. So the whole purpose of the adventure is to arrive at something.
Yeah.
You know? So I just, little addendum lesson there, thingy, whatever.
Yeah. So until next time, guys, we just pray that you are blessed, and we will see you guys soon.
Yep.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.